Hi, this is Noah Cantor with advice from Young Tradesman TV, and today's video is going to be a Redwood siding strip and restoration. This is a two-parter, so this is part one. This is just the chemical stripping. But before we dive into that, I want to thank the PCA for underwriting content like this, helping contractors like me help out contractors or maybe even DIYers like you. So PCA is the best minds in the painting industry all combined. It has amazing resources for the professional. Please check it out if you are a forward-thinking tradesperson. So as you can see, it is winter in Vermont right now. That is when we get around to editing our content from the summer season. So this Redwood restoration happened back in August of 2021 and it was a doozy. So we just shot a bunch of field footage and we have combined it into two videos. And again, this is the chemical stripping part of this. Good morning. I am here at the most exciting project of the summer. This is going to be a Redwood siding restoration. At least I'm told it's Redwood. It looks like it. I don't see it very often, so we'll confirm later. But let's just do an initial walk around and talk about the scope of what we're doing here. So, all this vertical tongue and groove siding, a little bit of normal siding in those peaks. As you can see, it's uneven and it's faded. The product that's on here, as far as the owners can tell, was a Benmore Arbor Coat semi-transparent oil that has been built up into a film that isn't performing super well. It's not at the point where it's failing yet, but it's also not great. When you have redwood, or even if it's cedar beneath here, hopefully it's redwood, you know, you want to be giving this room to breathe, actual oils. You don't really want to just encapsulate it in something that looks like this. This is the super sunny side, and as you can see, it's very faded, very uneven. You look up into the peak up there, and again, this is where Arbor Coat doesn't really shine. You see the lap marks, see the brush marks. This stuff isn't supposed to start performing like a paint and form a film, so it just looks bad. The choice was basically double down on this and do another coat, which I didn't want to do, or strip it all down to bare wood and Armstrong-Clark it, which is a more appropriate oil for this context. I basically explained to the homeowners that this is probably the last maintenance cycle before this will start crinkling in the sun and failing, as I've seen this product do many times. And they elected to strip this off and just do it right with a better oil for this situation, just so that maintenance is more predictable in the future and that the wood is happier and that you can actually see it. Because whether this is redwood or cedar, these grain patterns are gonna be unbelievable. This side doesn't get a ton of sun, so it's looking better, a little more even, but we can still do so much better here. Lap marks, unevenness there, fading, and back here there's gonna be some landscaping going in after us, but that is what that looks like. So we are going to do a chemical strip. We'll talk about that when we're doing it, and then a full sand on this, and then it's going to get Armstrong-Clark amber. So this is going to look unbelievably good. I've already done samples. They had some of these extra boards, and I sanded them down and did amber, and it's exquisite. This is like fine woodworking outdoors. So this one's going to be awesome. Stay tuned. So one thing I like to try before we really scale up our methods is, you know, I think chemical stripping is going to be the best for this, but what about a dry source of removal like sanding or pole scraping? So I did try that. Here is what pole scraping looks like on the grooves with my trusty Baco. And you can see that's pretty quick and efficient. So that is something to think about. Over here, I pole scraped that groove and then sanded it with the Festool linear sander, and that open flat I just did with the RO 150. So this for the flats and this for the grooves. This goes in a linear motion and that fits perfectly in there. So that will be seriously considered as an option. Another advantage of mechanically doing it, dry sanding, scraping, is you can get a section prepped and the same day oil it. So that is nice. as opposed to stripping, which is messy in the front end, maybe faster when we scale up, but then there's wait time and you get everything really soaking wet. So we will see today which method wins. Okay, so we've learned a few things. Sanding is not going to be the answer, at least up front. Sanding all the film off, that is. We will definitely sand the furred wood once the finish is chemically stripped off, because we have to, but it'll be easy then. It'll be wood pulp. This oil-based film is not easy to sand. We did want to try it. So that section took nearly an hour, believe it or not. The easy part was all of these, but the flats, very time consuming. The first pass with the stripper led us to believe that there's going to have to be 2 different passes. The first pass, it was done when the sun wasn't on it, basically just kind of melted off the top layer. If you look behind the gutter, you see that it wasn't even removed before last time, but this is the old film and this was just painted around it. So there are 2 layers we have to eat through here. The left half, I applied Sherwin-Williams gel stripper from a rolling pan using a soft bristle brush and extended it with Pressure Tech's FH80, that is Pressure Tech's basic stripper, at 8 ounces per gallon. So that is, again, Sherwin stripper over here, the gel, and then when it started drying out, I extended it with more stripper. Over here, it's just more stripper. So I'm gonna see what happens. The basic theory here is if I can get the same result spraying a liquid on the right half, same result, and it's gonna be 2 passes and it just melts off, that I get from manually applying a gel to the left half and then having to do that again, I'm obviously gonna do the liquid stripper twice instead of the gel stripper twice. If I can apply the gel stripper once and then extend it with liquid stripper sprayed and then get everything off in one fell swoop, that's the better deal. So this is why I test so much, so that I get the most efficient ratio and application type and chemical, just so I can scale up and do the entire house without thinking, am I doing it the best way? So we've already ruled out sanding. I really don't want to sand the old finish off. But the question now is what combination of stripper. Another thing to note is, can you see up there? You'll know you're getting down to the actual wood instead of just another layer of old finish if you start seeing black. Sodium hydroxide, these chemicals are going to turn the wood black. So once you start getting a soft bristle brush in there and seeing actual wood, see that? Once you start seeing black in there, that means you're getting down to the actual wood. There it is. Okay, so the orangey red stuff you see is still old stripper and the black is bare wood. So that is telling me that on this side, the Super Deck gel plus the liquid F18 sprayed on is getting us pretty close to bare wood. And since we're sanding anyway, because we're gonna fur it, maybe that's totally fine if we get 90% with that and then sand the rest off. So we will see how the rest of this rinses once I give it some more dwell time. We're coming up on a half hour and it might need even more. So this is a funny little phenomenon. All of this whole side has been treated with the Super Deck gel, and now I'm going back with F18 in little garden pump sprayer, and look at that. The F18 is removing this stuff in strands. Interesting thing about that, that's mostly the behavior of acrylic films getting stripped. They turn stringy and strandy. Usually oils just kind of dissolve. Most of the rest on the other side just dissolved. So was there uniform products put on this thing? I don't know, but we'll see what the rest of the house does. I don't think this is the bare wood. I think there's still another layer under there, but interesting development here. Okay, day 1, rough. No answers on the chemical front. Sanding's too slow. These 2 sides got varying levels of stripper applied. Up here, where it turned black, that got 2 passes of the Sherwin gel plus the F18. Over here just got one, and a lot melted off, but not, you know, everything. And here, that's a weird pattern, I can't explain that. That turned into spaghetti like acrylics do, and the rest behaved like an oil and a layer dissolved. So day 2, we are going to try more chemicals, different dwell times, and hope we get some better results. Okay, I am standing in the spray trailer of a fellow PCA member and complete madman who swooped in with his superior soft wash game, Tyler Tilton of Green Mountain Painters. I called him to chat about this, and he offered to drop off his spray rig so that I could do everything way quicker. So I am borrowing this today. I'll give you a quick tour. We have all of these chemical pumps, 2 pressure washers. You can run 2 spray lines and 1 chemical line, maybe even more. Look at this thing. This guy's a paint contractor. But anyway, what we learned yesterday is that, see this film, this existing one? It's faded, but it is damn near impossible to efficiently sand this stuff off. It is so slow. It is agonizingly slow. We also learned that a really thick coating of Super Deck, the gel, with, you know, extenders on it, didn't really take off more than a 2-minute liquid strip with barely any dwell time. So this is kind of a strange strip. What we've realized is that there's just a ton of product, old product, really worked into some open porous wood grain. And what that means is that any given strip, it's not really reacting with anything because pigments are just hard to strip. Sodium hydroxide doesn't do much to them. So what we've decided is to do 3 or 4 quick passes of stripper with some scrubbing in between, just to weaken the film. So you see here, you know, you basically have you're flush with bare wood, and there's old pigment and filler in the grains. Now that is going to be 10 times easier to sand than that out there that I showed you. So basically this entire back, it took like 2 hours with that setup. We basically just went around, and anything you see black or dark, that's wood coming through, which means we're just about flush to the wood. See the fuzzies? That's furring. That's what we want to see. It means we're close. So that's a good thing. And then over here is where we started sampling yesterday. So there's not a ton of actual film to strip off over here now, which is exactly how we want it. So yeah, we'll take some footage of this setup in action because it's awesome. Okay, end of the day, we learned something. So before this, I didn't fully respect that different store-bought strippers could have wildly different results, but they can. I went with the Sherwin one first, right? Because it's thick, it's viscous, a lot of dwell time, good on verticals of the high build, or so I thought. Turns out bend more, remove is better because of the butyl's. So we ended up trying that one, and look at the results. We didn't get it that good on every single side because we bought the store out and didn't have time to go get more, but that is gorgeous. That is basically perfection on this side. This is where we didn't have enough to do, and as you can see, you know, there's still a haze in spots, but it's going to be way easier to strip than it started. So, or to sand than when it started, when a piece of sandpaper was going like 2 square feet, and then so ended the day on a good note, learned something about butyl's, and yeah, sanding this should be 90% easier now. Okay, so like I said in the beginning of this video, this was just fuel footage on sweaty, 100-degree humidity, constant thunderstorm days. So forgive the somewhat lack of cohesive narrative there, but I hope the message you took is chemical stripping is rugged. Even if you know a lot about it, there are still curveballs. Not everything behaves the same. And what do you know? Butyls in some strippers and not others can make or break a day. So after I stopped filming in that last scene, we got more, Ben Moore removed and ended up doing a couple more passes in the house. And as you can see in the next video, part 2, we really got almost everything off. So yeah, there'll be a little icon for part 2 where we strip and Armstrong-Clark oil this house. So stay tuned for that.